let me show you something interesting. So this is before and this is after. Now, today's video is nothing to do with editing or how to do edit or all that crap. Today is basically I'm going to try to analyze one of my favorite wildlife photographer of the modern day. So let's jump into his Instagram profile. So this man, Shaaz Zung, it's not Shazam, it's Shaaz Zung. So this guy in Instagram, he has 1.1 million followers, and guess how many photos he has? 672. For 672 images, he gained 1.1 million followers. If there is something interesting happening in the world of photography in Instagram, which is very rare, this is it. This is a very prime example. Now, this guy is one of my favorite wildlife photographer. Of course, obviously, with all due respect, I do know that there are many other amazing wildlife photographer, but he has a particular style that I really love, other than beautiful photograph. So let's skim through all of his images. Just pay attention. What do you see? So, by the way, let me show you the man behind the camera, the artist. It's taking a while. There you go. That's him. He's the guy, Shaaz Zung, who takes all these beautiful images. And of course, in his Instagram post, he typically shares time to time his workflow in Photoshop. So obviously, all the images has a little bit of work done, obviously. That's for another subject, and I'm going to actually emulate one of his style in Affinity photo. Now, before I get into that technical part and how I do, what do I like about him? If you look at all his image, I'm not going to show you all his images, but all of them, color or black and white, has one thing in common. Let's just look at this one. For example, I'm just going to click it. This image, even this color, it almost does not have any distraction, very minimal, and there is no other way to look anywhere else except this Black Panther. How? I don't know. It's most likely probably is cropped because all his photos are square format. He almost doesn't have any image on HD or 4:3. They're all square. That's it. That's his first style. And second, it's just minimal. Nothing is oversaturated. Nothing is overexposed. Nothing is underexposed. They are just from corner to corner, perfect and natural. This mist of the morning and the panther passing by, just wonderful. There's another example. For instance, this one. God knows for how many hours he waited for this image. There is another photo. There you go. So that one, again, cannot be more minimalist than that. Somehow this fly happens to be in front of him and he's about to catch it. It's a color image, but it's only, you have just main character, second main character, and everything else is darkened. So it cannot look around except the action about to happen. And there is another thing that I find that he does a lot. Majority of his photos are very personal, cropped and headshot. In fact, most of his images are full body or headshot, but if it's full body, it's concentrated. There is no much empty space going on. It's square format, and from left to right is just the main image. There's another example, this lion, again, very minimalist headshot. I think that he has more. There you go. Look at those. That's his specialty. He does all the images simple, minimal, and personal. And he has another specialty that I like to talk about. For example, this image, and there are many other like that. This one, again, as an example, pretty similar style in terms of the style. Is there anyone, for example, that one again? I think that's a video. And I can show on this one, for instance, again, a great example of minimalist. So what it does, if you analyze properly, look at the eye. All his image has one thing common, definitely the eye. The camera looking at the eye, the animal looking at you. All of them, they all looking at the camera. Or at least looking somewhere, for instance, but the eye are more bright. It's coming in a second. Internet is slow in my computer. There you go. You can see the eye first and everything else. The second image is the second action, and then they are loving each other, they're kissing each other. It's cute. But my point is, all his photos has one thing common, which is the animal, the eyes of the animal, this beautiful, glorious animal, are sharp, bright, and directly looking at the camera. And then it's leading towards everything else. And generally, there are almost zero distraction. Look at this, minimalist. You have 2 color or 3 maximum, green to yellow, which is in the same zone, dark, and the eye. You cannot move your head away from this image. There is a color image, but almost zero distraction. Same, another example. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but he does it. He has a very good composition, and this guy is working. The reason why I want to dedicate the whole video to him, even though he has 1.1 million followers in Instagram, and of course, as you can clearly see, he's ambassador for Nikon, Samsung ambassador, NatGeo wild contributor, director of photography for NatGeo film, and owner of some migration camps. I think this is one of his another Instagram account where he look after the royal migration camp, generally all this animal reserve. I'm just going to go back to his old one. So his photos contributed hugely to many wildlife reserve project to protect the wildlife in India, to Africa, to almost everywhere in the world. And I thought I should make a video about it just to dedicate his work, because this is probably the most amazing Instagram account I have ever seen. Absolutely, there are a lot of Photoshop done. If I have to guess, for example, let's take one of the photos just to give you an idea. This is a good candidate. For instance, typically when you take an image, the eyes are the worst one to focus, and they generally tend to be darker. So I would imagine that he kind of did some local adjustment to make sure the eyes are bright. And he didn't use much of a vignette, but he did make sure that everywhere in the green area is darker than the subject, particularly the brightness of the eye. I mean, you can see the edges that has a little bit of hollow, which helping to make this little cat stand out. This one, on the other hand, is completely minimalist. Typically, if I was owner of this image, I would, try to make sure that everything is so bright. I mean, of course, without clipping any highlight, but I would want to make this image bright enough, brighter than this one. But somehow, this slightly almost underexposed image is just working perfectly, just a minimalist image. Again, this is where the skill comes from. There are many tutorial in the world of internet, like Anthony Morganti or you name it, Jim Nix or whoever. They can talk all about the softwares, whatever it is. I mean, they're really good at it. I'm not here to bash any other internet content creator who does software tutorials. I do the same. But my point is, none of the software can create unless you don't have a vision. For instance, again, that is exactly opposite of what I showed you. He just did a little bit of work on the image to make the photo bright just there, and everywhere else is completely dark. Here again, I can guarantee he made everything else darker. For example, at the bottom and at the top. Made sure the eye and some leaves are standing out just to give you an idea of the location. Anyway, so I am always fascinated about his work, like especially like also this black and white. Glorious, contrasty, powerful, punchy. I can continue use all the vocabularies in the world. But man, look at this. I mean, I know I could do that, but I don't think I would be able to do that immediately. Now that I'm looking at the photo, it looks like that, yeah, it's manageable. But if I had the original raw file, I would probably struggle a little bit at least. Again, this one, I mean, I think without any editing, that would already be an awesome image given the action. But man, there is any other example like this sun rays coming through the trees. Only brightest spot of this image is the little bit of sun in the corner, but everything else is just basically dark. I would personally think about, I should do some shadow recovery, and then if there is some noise, probably I would do some Topaz noise reduction. But I would never think in an artistic way like, hey, why not just leave the image kind of dark, make sure that you can at least feel what is going on, but you don't necessarily have to see everything, right? This is it. If you look at Instagram, everything is bright, but his images are a mix of almost everything. He's a bit of minimalist, personal, and just powerful. Of course, I mean, it's always nice to work in a wildlife reserve and do your thing, but come on, I've seen many images around internet. They all look just bright, overexposed, and there's some kind of artistic work missing. God knows what they do with the image. But this guy making every single image extraordinary, like every single image means something to him. You can clearly see the amount of work, except this one, of course, this is a Photoshop. I can guarantee he just somehow managed to do that in the middle of the city, or I don't know, it's written here, in a world of first being unbanished concrete jungle. Yeah, so essentially what it did with this image, trying to give you an idea in the world of concrete how the animal would live. They would not live, that's what they're trying to say. So he's basically trying to raise awareness against deforestation. Look at that. So it's kind of like a contrast between the modern civilization on the one side that polluting and destroying everything, and the animals who is trying to make a living. This is another reason why I want to make this video, because I want to dedicate this video for his work. And I respect him, I respect his work. I think they are just glorious. I highly recommend you to go and visit his Instagram profile, and please take a look at his image and you will see for yourself exactly what I'm talking about. Now that I got some inspiration, so I had this image that I downloaded from a free raw website that I'm gonna put in the link in the description below, where you can download, contribute and download free raw image to practice editing. So what I did, I brought it up in my Affinity photo, where you can see that the color looks different. So what I did, I originally brought it over to Affinity photo. Only thing I did is minor adjustments such as white balance first, and then a little bit, correction on exposure, but I didn't do much. And then I did some edit. I did crop in the second layer. So I made it like a 1:1 as his images. Of course, it's not the best one, but try to emulate as much as possible. And then I did some image, and this is the result I've got in the end. obviously far, far from his work. But what I try to concentrate again is the eye and the contrast and the minimal dark background. So if you look at the before, it was kind of flat. That's what I think most of his photo originally looked like. And then he did some work, beautiful work, and made the animal looks extraordinary. Look at this one. This, I don't know how, I don't know. Again, I wouldn't, if I was him, again, tell me, probably you do the same. I would never crop the mama's head. But because he did, now it looks good. How? I don't know. This one too. The head is gone. The half of the head is gone. But then again, it is a beautiful image. What it did, he basically did not give up his one-on-one crop and somehow made it look beautiful. So that's exactly almost I tried to do. I tried to crop in as much as I could to make it personal. And then let me take you through, because I already did the work. So I'm going to explain exactly what I did. So I'm going to turn off all the layers, and then I'm going to go upward. There you go, this one. And then face feather. So what I did, every time I did something, I made a name. I'm going to show you anyway. And now I'm just going to turn on the layer like that. And then there you go. Now, first thing first, what I did, I'm just going to show you. So if you can see it at the left on the layer, first I did some minor level adjustments. I'm going to turn this one on. So what happened? So what I did, I'm going to turn on. So in the black, I added a little bit black. And in the white level, I added about 93% of the white. And the black is 14%. And then, important, I changed the blend mode to luminosity. I did not leave it to normal, because in the normal, you can see that it's looking a little bit saturated. Where is it? The luminosity, on the other hand, it's not oversaturating the image. It's only working on the brightness of the image. And also in the gamma, I went downward. So I added some gamma to about 0.791. So the result is this. So it was before, and after that, it gave me a little bit contrast. So we have a contrasty and powerful look right there. Now the second layer, I'm just going to double click. In the curve, I boosted the white like crazy. You can clearly see. And I changed the luminosity again, blend mode again to luminosity. And let me show you the result now. You see that? It's like a magic or a movie. I don't know what. I made the curve as strong as possible in the white department, right? And then I inverted the layer with Ctrl-I, used the brush and did some brush on the eye, but you had to make sure that your opacity is as low as possible. Like about, I would recommend around 30, flow around 20, 28, and hardness as low as possible. And then you'll get yourself a nice and soft brush, and you brush it as much as you can around the eye, and you should get yourself a really strong eye, just like any of his images. For example, this one, everything, it has one thing common: very strong, powerful, personal eyes. Now, once I was done with the eye, now level for the feather. So I'm going to turn on, double click the level, bring it on the side, and I turn on. Look at that. Did you see the change? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit and then bring it on the side. So let's turn off, turn on, turn off, turn on. So what is happening here? Here, I left the blend mode to normal. And then I added as much level black as possible about 16%, about 87% of the white, a little bit gamma, and I inverted the layer with Control I. Then I used the brush everywhere in the feather area to give the feather a little bit more character than usual. So result was this. You can clearly see. So that depends on animal to animal, of course. So my idea is that making sure the other part of the wildlife animal standing out without distracting the actual image. Now after that, what I did, the face feather. So face feather is different. I'm going to turn on and off first. So in the curve, I turn on. What is happening there? You see that it's suddenly getting wider. So what I did, I used a S-curve, changed the blend mode to luminosity, and I brought the shadow at the top, so kind of like a S but in a different way, and I brushed all the white. Basically I left the black alone, just the white everywhere, and the result was this. So of course what's happening, you can see in the little box in the layer that it almost looked like the face of the lion. So every single white part I brushed it. Even here, let me see if I can do that. There you go. So that's what I did. And then moving on to, I'm going to turn this one on, the background. Yeah, so that's the one that was really hard. So let me show you something. Off. I'm going to move it down. Look at that. That was before, after, before, after. So instead of using a round layer to like a vignette, I used the curve, added as much black as possible, inverted the layer, and made the brush as big as possible, and brushed it everywhere in the corner. But now here's the technique. You must be wondering, this green, I'm just going to make the brush smaller. The green is kind of untouched, because normally it would affect everything, but why not the green? Here's a little trick. This little next to this wheel, click the wheel. I brought down this little thing as much as possible. So basically I'm protecting all the white and affecting the mid-tone to shadow. Try that, highly recommended. It's almost like a luminosity mask. So I essentially added black only black area and left the bright part alone. And result is this. Now, once I was done, I'm going to close this one. Eye color. Now, what I did, so in the orange, I click the picker, pick the eye of the lion, and then I'm going to change it to the brush. And then I change the eye color to somewhat, somewhat orange, and I boost the brightness as much as possible. So result was this, before, after. Because again, if you look at his images, a lot of his images, the eyes tend to be, okay, the lion here, not this one. This image, for example, has blue eye, sorry, green eye. Of course, that's the eye color, actual eye color of the panther, but then again, I was kind of inspired by it. So I decided to emulate the same look. Looks like it's worked actually, to be honest. Now, dark edges. So again, I used a lot of levels here. So here, the dark edge, that's where I did dodge and burn. So I'm going to turn on dodge and burn. Now you can see the dark edges. So essentially, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, as much as I can. Now, all the dark area I made darker. So every single dark areas you can see around the lion, including the mouth, I made them darker. Same with the white. So I used the level. I'm going to double click to show you. So white spots, I made it wider. There you go. I'm going to zoom out so they can see it better. Beam. Before, after, before, after. Amazing, isn't it? And then what I did, I made a group within a group in Affinity Photo and wrote doesn't burn. You can do semi-group in Affinity Photo now, which is pretty freaking amazing. And finally, I put them on all group and added a little bit high pass. Let me show you the result of the high pass. Before, after, before, after. And high pass, I can show you. I added about 2.5 pixel, but then again, each photo has a different amount of high pass. So I'm not going to show you why. I'm not going to tell you why I used 2.5, because in my test, it worked for this image. In your camera, in your image, this might be different. So this is something technical. But anywho, at the end, that's my result that I try to emulate this guy. But then again, he's a master. He's a master of his work. I don't know. He also probably purposefully do not sharp his image, or maybe he adds a lot of glow, or maybe all of his image is not that sharp, but then again it's sharp. I don't know what is happening here. If anybody can tell me what is going on, please. I mean, there's something just perfect about each and every image. Like, okay, this one, to me, I can do that easy. I make everything dark, make the tongue brighter, the eyes brighter. Yeah. But how come this one, what am I supposed to do here? If I had an image exactly like that, I don't know what I would do. I really don't. But I definitely wouldn't be able to make this one. Maybe it's the lens that he's using. Like this one, again, who came up with the idea? Just the head of the panther and the rain. Majority of the image is just empty. And somehow it's just perfect. Anyway, so that's him. And that's me. Let me know what you think. I hope you learned something in terms of the image idea. And please do go and support that amazing human being that we call photographer. These are the real photographer, and this is a good thing about Instagram. Although Instagram in general is not the best thing that I know of for photographers, this is a good example, a positive example. And we need more and more your support for protecting the wildlife. And so if you have any opportunity, please do protect the wildlife. Please do go and visit his images, and please create more. And most importantly, please look after yourself. I see you in future videos. Bye-bye.